Roses are red, violets are blue. A face like yours belongs in a zoo.
Hello and welcome to the show. Lovable, colourful conversations with Clergyman Pete and Businessman Mark. This week we debate, is Valentine's Day a scam? Well, meat panties, underwear built for two, a wife's manual, and many other ridiculous Valentine's gifts are just some of the things that you can buy this season. Yes, indeed. Is there no end to the stupidity around Valentine's Day? Have we really all fallen out of love with this season? Perhaps, maybe, we're just being sold a pup. Well, it does, for some, get a little bit too sloppy and sentimental. Well, what do I mean by that? Silly poems? Oh, who would ever even entertain the idea? I'll give you a simple example. Here's one just for your edification. It's called Eternally Single. Who will be my Valentine, to woo all day and dotingly dine? All suitors can just wait in line to win my heart and be mine. Usually I'm greeted with a heavy hug, which makes them feel extremely smug. Sometimes I sadly catch a nasty bug, and then I droop upon the rug. So who will it be? No one knows. As the anticipation increasingly grows, this year I'll dress in great big bows, for I am your romantic single rose. Ah.
Oh, so nice.
Well, with me today,
So romantic.
with me today is Clergyman Pete. So, Clergyman Pete, I know that you're getting into the mood, but I must ask you this question. Have you given all of your loved ones a beef jerky edible underwear this Valentine's Day?
Not this time, no. In fact, I can say, in all honesty, that I have never given a Valentine's Day gift or card to anyone, not even you, Mark. So, I mean,
Well,
I think that so I think I can claim certain neutrality. Certainly, I'm not going to be speaking from a pro Valentine's Day bias, but yeah, it's interesting. What if it? So, in your heavy research into this subject, because I know you're a very romantic person.
Absolutely.
What have you found out then? Why is it that Valentine's Day is a scam? That's what we were saying at the start.
Well,
I mean, I don't particularly like the festival,
absolutely.
but why is it a
think that
scam?
This is where it comes down to the commercialism, because basically what is happening here is that, of course, retailers, we know, love to latch on to our emotions, and particularly Valentine's Day, the hope that those singletons out there will find true love. And of course, what we see year on year are this wash of media with strange, silly, sentimental messages combined with ridiculous gifts that, in theory, are meant to woo potential loved ones. Now, I mentioned one or two stupid gifts, but of course, we do know traditionally that it is a card giving. Now, of course, what is actually meant to happen in recent times is that if you are going to give a Valentine's Day, it's meant to be a secret message. You aren't actually meant to reveal who you are. But of course, if you already have a partner, and I know Clergyman Pete, you have a devoted wife there, it does worry me slightly that you're not prepared to at least embrace the moment a little bit by giving someone, such as your loved one, at least a little gift on Valentine's Day. Now, of course, we've got two audiences here. We've got those who have partners and those who don't. So let's look at those that don't. They are very much wrapped in the commercialism. And where I think the scam here is that there is the potential lure that they're actually going to find their true life partner here. And that's probably the bit that I think that could be a problem. I'm going to give you an example here. Some retailers, without mentioning their names, have even gone to the extent of wrapping up meat in the form of a heart shape so that it becomes a romantic barbecue for two. Yes, they have actually done that. But what they've even done is, dare I say, perhaps gone a little bit too far by wrapping cucumbers in condoms with the message "ideal for Valentines" underneath. Now, I don't know how far you really want to go with this. It even goes to the extent of fun panties for two. Yes, that's right. Has the scam got so far now that it's almost becoming crude and we've sort of lost the morality of courtship? And that's the bit that I think I possibly have the problem with here. So,
Yeah.
Clergyman Pete,
Yeah.
have we lost to morality here? And the scam is that really it's become so commercial that really we've lost our sense of reason a little bit.
Yes, I get what you're saying about the commercialism in taking advantage of people's romantic nature, and the reason I don't see it, don't quite see it as much as a scam, is because you can see there is an alternative, which is the way I've reacted. It's not that I'm against romantic gestures, buying flowers, going out for meals, walks along the beach,
Yes.
holding hands, watching the moon, and all this sort of
Oh,
all this
so you have a
class,
romantic side to
all
you.
this class of animal. Well, all very well and good, but why does it have to be done on a particular day? No reason. I mean, and I guess it's my reaction against the commercialism of Valentine's Day that made me hate it. The expectation that you do it means that I don't do it. And I'm joined in this by my wife, who also doesn't give me cards or flowers. Well, I wouldn't
No,
appreciate
and she
flowers,
doesn't
but
give me them either.
no, not
Why?
anymore. No, but no. I think that that was a joke, folks, for listening. But the thing about being forced to do something is what I'm reacting against. But
Yes.
commercial pressure, you can resist it. You can just say, no, I'm not having anything to do with it. So is it a scam? Well, in the sense that all such marketing is a scam. You could, in the same way, say Christmas is a scam, and it plays upon people's wanting to
Surely
have a
not.
family time to get them to buy Christmas cards and Christmas presents. But I do think, in answer to your point about the courtship and romance, I do think that has become gradually and increasingly now lost,
Yes.
such that you can see it's within the human heart. We want to do it, so people go and make their declarations of love, or they ask their loved one to marry them at a football game, or shouting from a helicopter, or so, because they want to make this big gesture. But the gradual wooing of a woman has gone because the importance of marriage has been lost, which is a shame. I mean,
Exactly.
I think that I'd be going out on a limb here. I think could possibly say that most people who go along with the romantic side of Valentine's Day don't actually know why it's Valentine's Day, why St. Valentine itself is associated with romance. Which I shall just briefly outline. So
And you're
to
going
give
to
you the
enlighten
idea, I'm just
our
going to tell you
listeners.
because here, look, Valentine. No, Valentine sounds like a girl's name. It's a bloke, right? And
Yes.
not that makes it unromantic. I'm just pointing that out. Now he was a priest, Christian priest. Now 269 AD. That's quite early in the era of Christendom, and Valentine was a man who was standing up for Christian marriage. He was encouraging people to get married in the Christian church. He would secretly marry couples. Why did he need to do that? Because, of course, was it during a time of persecution of the church? Not specifically that. I mean, that was a problem, but that wasn't his particular issue. His particular issue was that young people were discouraged from getting married in the culture of the time because of the fact that young men were thought to fight better in the army if they weren't yet married, because they weren't, they got married after a time in the army. So, Emperor Claudius, we're talking about the time of the Roman Empire, had commanded, that people should get married later. That was what was expected. And so if people were Christian and wanted to marry, and it was as he Valentine would marry them in secret in the Christian church. He was caught. He was tortured for 3 years and decapitated. So you could say he lost his head over the romantic side of things, but that would be uncalled for, saying that. But here's the key thing: is what happened was he wrote. So his last words that we know were written to the daughter of a Roman called Asterius, and this particular girl he had prayed for, and she'd be healed from her problem. She'd been blind, and that being the case, he'd written to, they had the relation. She had that relationship from the family, and he signed the message from your Valentine, meaning himself. And these people took this note, and remembering that he had married people in secret, that if you got married for love, you couldn't wait. You got married for love, then you got married to your Valentine, and that became the idea behind it. And there were lots of other, reasons. There was already a festival at about that time. There's a Roman festival called Lupercalia, named after the wolf. So there's that behind it as well. There was already a festival, but the right behind the whole thing is romantic love leading to committed marriage.
Yes.
And that's when it's like that. I think that's great. This idea of a man needing to woo the woman. He works on himself, makes sure he's fit, makes sure he's presentable. He makes sure he has enough money to buy good gifts, and he woos of all the women he could attract. He makes it so that he can attract as many as possible, and then he chooses one, and he woos them and marries them. And that's what Valentine's Day should, I think, celebrate.
Well, indeed. And I think that there's a good point behind that. But remember, the whole pretense of this show is about the scams. And I'm going to explain a little bit about this sentiment that you've already highlighted about the card. Because one thing that has been pointed out, isn't that right, Sainsbury's? Yes, the retailer Sainsbury's. You've been caught out, haven't you? Because, yes, your Valentine's Day cards for husbands cost 50 pence more than those identical ones for wives. Yes, that's right. Because if for those people who perhaps have been succumbed to this issue, where there's a little doggy with a love heart, very cute, very nice, and it says, "For my husband." Well, unfortunately, that one costs £2.50, whereas the one for my wife costs £2. There seems to be some discrepancy there. Now, I know that Sainsbury's, yes, you have apologized and you've corrected this, but isn't it true that some retailers just can't help but find a scam somewhere? And we know why, because you've probably looked at your database and thought, hold on, we can make 50 pence more here. But yes, you've been spotted. So the thing is, be careful when you're actually going about your business, because, as I said, Cupid, who is lower arrow, can shoot you, and you could end up being a little bit blinded by some of these deals. So I must admit that the whole essence of Valentine's Day, traditionally, I think is a good one, because when you impart your feelings down on a piece of paper or a card, and give it to a potential loved one, then there is something quite sort of heartwarming at the idea that somebody has sent you one.
Yes.
You claim, Clergyman Pete, that you've not really engaged in this, but I would have said that, as a gesture, I would have thought this would have helped any one of your parishioners just to sort of feel a little bit more loved. And that's what we need in this world, surely, even if you have to spend an extra 50 pence to do so.
There is a bit of confusion, isn't there, about is Valentine's Day then about a woman or vice versa who you want to marry or you are married to? Or is it just generally love? And if it's just generally love, then there's a bit of confusion there. I mean, Valentine's Day, because of the history behind it and because of how it's developed, such that there's traditions to do with it, that you set it aside for a romantic date, that you send an anonymous, if you're not yet with someone, you send an anonymous admiring card to someone, and they're meant to figure out that it's you. And there's the tradition that on this day and this day only, it is the women who can propose to the men.
Yes,
And, there's those traditions that have developed. But there's also come along this idea that it's just showing love to anyone. So, a mother might send Valentine's Day cards to their children.
indeed.
And that to me seems just really strange. And it's what I would call an emotional scam, in that, as I was saying, you feel you have to do it. But that is extended beyond the original meaning of Valentine's Day,
Indeed.
to maybe the wife in a relationship. Normally, the wife who would do this, getting the huff if the husband forgets. Now, in popular culture, there is this idea that there are all these things you have to remember as a husband or as a boyfriend. I suppose people don't often get formally married, but I count that as a marriage. As you know, we've had this discussion before. The people who are committed to each other, and then the wife or girlfriend has all these things that you have to remember. You've got to remember Valentine's Day. You've got to remember her birthday, and there's various other things you've got to remember. If that were true, if it is true in your relationship, there's something deeply wrong with either you or your wife. It can't matter that much. If it does matter, I think you married the wrong person, mate. I mean, I think you thought about it. So shouldn't be that important. If it is that important, then the person we're talking about, whoever they are, and if that's you, think about this. You're very, very shallow. You need to sort it out. But I think however, having seen that it's strange, this broadening out, I think that's better. If it were just a celebration of love in the sense of being kind and good and nice to each other, which is a different type of love. That's what I would say, that sort of love. But I think that would be a better sort of day, a day in which that is celebrated. I guess we already have it in that we have Christmas already, but that would be better to me. Let's have that instead.
Well, indeed. Now, I know that we've been slightly cynical here, and I think that listeners, we'd love to hear your thoughts. But I thought I couldn't help but sort of end on a slightly cynical note here, and maybe Valentine's Day, not so much of a scam, but perhaps some things that just simply get up your nose. Well, here's a little thought: flower power. Saying it passionately with blooming flowers can keep love going for hours and hours. But then the sentiment suddenly sours, and the pollen quickly overpowers. Your eyes water like April showers. The pain is similar to burning towers, and with your well-being hay fever devours. Finally your head droops and your body cowers. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, thanks, Mark. Yeah.
So join us again next time for more colourful conversations and love by all with Clergyman Pete and Businessman Mark. Toodle pip.